active being kind of lifelong physically active, if we're thinking about like lifelong physical activity, what would be the benefit of that to an individual and to groups, I suppose? And as we sort of ask that question, I want to sort of throw a term in for you. I think it's a sort of term that's more likely to appear in a mark scheme than a question. But we're asking the question that if we develop physical literacy with people, this sort of notion, including participating and enjoying and valuing participating over the course of a life, what might it be that this benefits, or how might this benefit people? And we're going to look at numerous aspects of this. We're going to have a look at physical health and well-being. Okay, so over here, we are going to address physical health and well-being. Over here, which you don't know where it is yet because I haven't got there, over here, we're going to address not physical health, but we're going to address mental health and well-being. Okay, mental health and well-being. A concept that post-coronavirus lockdowns, at least it is where I'm sat right now in 2021, post-lockdowns, who knows about the future. But this is a really fundamentally important question that we're asking ourselves. And then finally, although we are going to look at fitness as well, we're going to have a look at social health and well-being. So I'd like to try and address these notions with you today and see if we can sort of structure what it is that physical activity benefits people by. So with that in mind, let's see, I think it was that green there. Let's think about physical health. What does it actually do for people being active? Well, as an example of a physical health attribute, it improves heart function. Now, we could get into the real weeds of this. We could talk about, you know, the positive cholesterol that's removing, well, HDLs removing LDLs. We could be talking about the tendency not to get cardiovascular disease, the tendency not to experience coronary heart disease, and so on and so on. So numerous aspects of that. We also get improved efficiency of body systems. So, for example, when we have been physically active and when we continually improve the efficiency of body systems, we would experience, for example, better digestion. Our skin will be healthier. Our blood will be healthier, and so on and so on and so on. These bodily systems actually become healthier. This reduces chances of illness. Okay, so we're less likely to experience things such as lifestyle diabetes, but also things like our immune system will be stronger. So we could even have sort of like, we can also experience fewer communicable diseases, borrowing the term from your biology courses. You know, we're less likely to pick up on bacterial infections or viruses because we've been active, for example. And a critical one we must touch on is we avoid obesity. So people who are physically active over their lifetime are less likely to increase their BMI score up above 30, and therefore they're likely to avoid obesity. In other words, they'll maintain their weight. Now, on the mental health and well-being side, there's lots of points we can make here. Exercise reduces stress. Another way to perhaps stress that, we could say it reduces tension. You know, this is I really like the word. I'll give you this word here. It's a lovely word for you to use. Sport, physical activity is cathartic. Cathartic. That means it reduces stress. It's a stress reliever. Lovely word to use if you can use it. We also get the release of feel-good hormones. Now, I'm going to mention one of these to you here, but you could actually look at lots of different ones, and the one I'm going to mention to you here is serotonin. That's an R in there, believe it or not. Serotonin. Okay, so serotonin is an endorphin released in the brain. It makes you feel happy. Now, you will have experienced this because post-exercise, if you work really hard, you get that kind of buzz and that thrill of having done something, achieved something. That's one of the contributing factors to that. We're also going to experience the ability to control emotions. Okay, so we can control emotions. I mean, you could say here control arousal as well, but let's just put some base points in here, guys. People, up arrow, feel more happy. More up arrow happy. They might experience less down arrow depression, anxiety, these sorts of things. And obviously that's really positive for people's well-being, lifestyle, and their general overall being in life. Let's go to social health and well-being, perhaps the one that feels hardest to define, I suppose. One of the big things that physical activity does, especially over the course of a lifetime, is it gives opportunities, excuse me, to socialise. And I really like just simply saying making new friends. I mean, you guys, I guess you're doing a PE course. I mean, I'm guessing you've probably met people that you like and enjoy spending time with through your physical activity, whether it's a football team or a table tennis club that you're part of. You're likely to have done that, right? I would imagine. In most cases, that will be true. We're also going to experience cooperation. Think about the actual value that sport physical activity has for people, because it develops this notion of cooperation between people. That's valuable at work, in life, in school, in everything. And it develops this crucial behaviour, which is teamwork. And lots of sports do that. Of course, some do that better than others, but it's really, really important. Now, this one, guys, I never know what to teach when I teach this. But your exam board want me to tell you that you can have your essential needs met. And this is a social benefit. Now, when I first read this, I thought it meant something completely different. Your essential. By the way, I should have put the word human needs in there. Human needs. Now, when I read this, I thought that was something to do with kind of relations. But apparently, what they meant to tell you by this is to do with food, safety, and clothing. Now, how that is a social benefit, I really don't know, but I'm telling you it because it's worth the mark on your exam. I actually think what they meant here was that social health and well-being, you might meet someone who is kind of like a partner type person in the future, and that might be to some degree an essential human need. I think that's what they meant when they wrote that for the first time in the exam board, but they've changed their minds. It's a little bit naughty, I suppose. Anyway, let's finish this off. What does lifelong physical activity do to fitness? It's our last point. Well, of course, it improves fitness. We get fitter when we're active. So, lo and behold, we have less down arrow chance of injury. So we're less likely to be injured because we are physically active, stronger bones, stronger muscles, etc., etc. And guys, it also a lifelong physical activity. It aids the ability to work. Okay. Now, obviously, jobs in 2021, as I record this, aids the ability to work. I mean, there's relatively few farmers, and there's relatively lots of people that work in office jobs and on computers and do web design or whatever it happens to be, right? So we've got to acknowledge that. But think about being on feet all day. Now, you guys are at an age where you may well be doing this in your part-time job, being a waiter, working in a shop. My daughter's 16, she works in a chip shop, for example. That's actually quite useful, isn't it? But you might find that, well, certainly physical activity helps with anything which is manual labour. Okay, now, of course, modern jobs tend to be more sedentary, but this is something we should be aware of. Cheers.